Julie here again. I got an A on my poster for problem solving. I get the steps for solving problems, but I'm still having trouble actually solving real-world problems.
So you're having a little trouble actually putting all the problem-solving steps to work, huh? That's don't feel bad. That's a big deal. That's really saying what you're supposed to do is easy. Actually doing it is always the hard part. I'm assuming you're reading the problems carefully. That really is a big deal. Not reading the problem carefully is probably the number one issue that I see my students having when they're trying to solve word problems. So be sure and read the problem carefully and try and take notes. Try and pull out the pieces that look important. But once that's done, once you've read it and pulled out the parts that look important, then sometimes picking the right strategy can make a big difference too. There really are a number of different strategies that you can use to take the information from the question and put it into some sort of manner that you can use to actually solve the problem itself. Obviously, if you have a formula for the information that you're supposed to solve, if you can apply a formula that you're given, or if you can come up with a formula to use, by all means do that, because using a formula is sort of a shortcut to finding the answer. This is obviously your number one option if you can, but very often you're not given that. That's sort of a canned step two when you have it, because step two is really taking the information from the question and putting it into a solvable format. If you have a formula, then it's a solvable format. So definitely, if you have a formula, by all means use it. If not, guessing and checking can be a perfectly viable way to answer a question. Sometimes there's only a certain sort of limited number of possible answers. So just taking those possible answers and plugging them in and checking to see if they work is a perfectly viable way of getting the information you need. I would recommend this mostly if there's a limited number of answers. And you know that there's only so many. A multiple choice test, for instance. A multiple choice test usually only has 4 or 5 answers. So if you can just go back and check those answers individually and see which one works, then you're definitely going to know when you have the right answer. But often that's not the case. Often your answers are not limited. There's a huge range of possibilities. So sometimes what you can do is take the information you have and make a table out of it and see how the information you're given relates to the question that you're supposed to solve. So making a table can sometimes sort of lay things out visually. For many people, they don't think in letters and numbers. They think in pictures, and that's perfectly all right. Taking the information then from the letters and numbers format, putting it into a picture like a table or a diagram, can make it easier to understand, especially if you're a more visual kind of a person. Once you understand the information, then it might be easier for you to go back and put that information into a formula like we had up in our first option there. And maybe it's not. Maybe you just use the information directly from a table or a diagram that you've drawn or that are in the problem to come up with your final answer. Just don't forget when you get all done to go back and check for reasonable, because that's the big deal. When you're all done, make sure that your answer makes sense. Reasonable. Because if it doesn't make sense, something's wrong. If it makes sense, you probably got it right and you can move on.